The city streets were loud, neon signs flashing, horns blaring, but his eyes caught something quiet, almost fragile. A girl stood at the corner, clutching a box of cheap candy bars. Her jacket was thin against the winter chill, and her smile, though practiced, couldn't quite hide the exhaustion in her eyes. "Candy for $1?" she asked a stranger who brushed past without looking. Then another. And another. Still, she stayed. From across the street, Daniel watched. He was a young entrepreneur, dressed sharply, heading home after a long day of meetings. But something about her stopped him in his tracks. She didn't look like a street vendor. There was dignity in the way she held herself, as though every "no" she received wasn't rejection, it was just another step forward. Most people saw a girl selling candy to survive. Daniel saw something else. The way she lifted her chin, the spark of pride that refused to dim, she looked like a queen who had lost her crown but not her spirit. Curiosity pulled him closer. He reached into his pocket, ready to buy a candy bar, but the words that came out weren't what he expected. "Why are you out here in this cold?" he asked softly. The girl blinked, surprised. For a moment, her mask slipped. "Because," she whispered, voice steady despite the tremor, "this candy is the only thing keeping a roof over my little brother's head." And in that instant, Daniel knew, this was no ordinary meeting. Daniel stood frozen, the dollar bill still between his fingers. Her words pierced through the noise of the city. "A roof over my little brother's head. What's your name?" he asked. "Lila," she said, shifting the candy box nervously, as if afraid of wasting time that could bring a sale. Daniel bought 2 bars, but instead of leaving, he stayed. He asked her about her brother. Slowly, Lila opened up. Their father had left years ago, their mother worked herself sick until she could no longer get out of bed, and now it was just the 2 of them. Rent was due every week. Candy was her lifeline. As she spoke, Daniel noticed how her eyes didn't dim with pity for herself. Instead, they glowed with determination every time she mentioned her little brother. She wasn't out there for survival alone, she was out there for love. The cold wind whipped between them, but Daniel barely felt it. Something inside him stirred, a mix of admiration and a strange, unshakable ache. Here was a girl who had nothing, yet carried herself like she owned the stars. He wanted to help, but he knew money wasn't enough. "How long will you stay out here?" he asked. "As long as it takes," she replied, chin lifting with quiet pride. Daniel left that night, but her image followed him, her courage, her sacrifice, her spirit. He didn't know it yet, but this chance encounter was about to change both of their lives forever. The next evening, Daniel returned. This time, he didn't wear his tailored coat. He dressed plainly, blending into the crowd. He wanted to see Lila again, not as the wealthy businessman who could hand her a blank check, but as a man curious about her heart. Sure enough, she was there. Same corner. Same box of candy. Same brave smile. "Back for more chocolate?" she teased lightly, recognizing him. He laughed. "Maybe. But mostly, I came back for the story." Between hesitant laughs and passing cars, they talked again. Daniel learned her brother's name, Evan. He learned how Lila would wake up at dawn, make sure Evan had breakfast, then hit the streets. She skipped meals more often than she admitted. Yet, she never once complained. Then came the test. A group of teenagers passed by, mocking her for begging with candy. One boy even tried to knock the box from her hands. Lila stood tall, clutching the box to her chest, but she didn't lash out. Instead, she said calmly, "I'm not begging. I'm working. And that's something you'll never understand until life makes you grow up." The teens scoffed and walked away. Daniel felt his chest tighten with pride. She didn't need saving, she needed someone who saw her worth. That night, Daniel bought the entire box of candy. Lila's eyes widened, but before she could protest, he said, "This isn't charity. Consider it an investment." The days turned into weeks. Daniel kept returning, sometimes buying candy, sometimes just bringing coffee to keep her warm. Slowly, a bond formed, not of pity, but of respect. One snowy night, as they shared a bench under a flickering streetlight, Daniel finally asked, "If you could wish for anything, beyond survival, what would it be?" Lila hesitated. No one had ever asked her that. Finally, she whispered, "A home where my brother doesn't have to worry. And a bookstore. I've always loved stories. Selling candy keeps us alive, but books make us dream." Daniel smiled, though his heart ached. Here she was, dreaming not of riches or escape, but of giving her brother stability and giving herself a chance to share joy with the world. What she didn't know was that Daniel had connections, resources that could turn such dreams into reality. But he kept quiet. He wanted to be sure his actions wouldn't steal her pride. Instead, he said softly, "You're already a queen, Lila. Not because of what you own, but because of how you carry your crown, even when no one sees it." For the first time, she didn't hide behind her brave smile. Her eyes welled with tears. "No one's ever said that to me before." And in that moment, Daniel realized it wasn't just admiration he felt. It was something deeper. Something life-changing. Weeks later, Daniel invited Lila and Evan to a community center he sponsored. At first, she resisted, suspicious of his intentions. But when she walked in, her breath caught. Shelves of books lined the walls, with a small corner dedicated to children's reading. "This is for families who can't afford much," Daniel explained. "A place to read, learn, and dream." Evan's eyes lit up as he ran to the shelves, pulling out a picture book. Lila stood frozen, clutching her candy box tighter. "Why are you showing me this?" she whispered. Daniel took a breath. "Because I see more in you than just a girl selling candy. I see the woman who deserves to run a place like this, someone with vision, with heart." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "But Daniel, I don't have the education, the money." "You have the spirit," he interrupted. "And that's worth more than anything else. Let me help you build your dream, Lila. Not because I pity you, but because I believe in you." For the first time in a long while, she let herself hope. She placed the candy box on a table, as though setting down the weight she had carried for years. And when Daniel looked at her, eyes shining, shoulders lifted with new strength, he didn't just see a survivor. He saw the queen of his dreams. And this time, she believed it too.